Hey everyone! Welcome to this explainer covering Module 2, an overview of Annex 22. If you're a QA, IT, or validation professional working in the pharma space, you know exactly how incredibly fast things are moving right now. Today, we're unpacking the critical regulatory framework of EU GMP Annex 22. We're going to look at what it is, why it was created, its scope, and exactly what regulatory authorities expect when artificial intelligence meets regulated manufacturing. Let's get into it.
So let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat, shall we? For decades, our industry has relied on traditional computerized systems validation. Testing systems that do exactly what they're programmed to do every single time. But how do you validate a system that learns? A system that actually thinks for itself and adapts over time? That intense friction between traditional deterministic IT validation and modern learning-based algorithms has been a massive headache for the industry. And honestly, that is exactly the problem Annex 22 was created to solve.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the origins and framework, Annex 11 versus Annex 22, defining scope and boundaries, static, dynamic, and Gen AI, the core structural elements, and finally, an implementation roadmap.
All right, Section 1, the origins and framework.
Okay, so where did this even come from? Basically, AI deployment was just completely outpacing regulatory clarity from authorities like the EMA and PIC/S. To fix this, the drafting team actually looked closely at real-world machine learning literature. They wanted to align the rules with technical reality, rather than just imposing arbitrary, impossible standards. Also, it's designed specifically to sit right alongside the EU AI Act, GDPR, and the medical device regulation. The goal there is so organizations don't end up pulling their hair out over contradictory rules across different European single-market regulations.
Moving right along to Section 2, Annex 11 versus Annex 22.
Now, I need to make something absolutely clear right now. Annex 22 does not, I repeat, does not replace our old friend Annex 11. They work together. Annex 11 remains the foundation for all your computerized systems. We're talking your deterministic validation, your IQ/OQ structure, your audit trails. All of that stays. But for AI, Annex 22 adds some very necessary disciplines on top of that foundation. Things like a defined intended use, strictly independent test data sets, explainability, and rigorous lifecycle monitoring to watch out for model drift.
That brings us to Section 3, defining scope and boundaries. So what's actually regulated here? There's some really interesting nuance in what's considered in scope. Batch release, obviously in scope. But get this, deviation triage is in scope too. Even indirect AI decisions are heavily scrutinized if they touch GMP records. So if a lab uses AI for chromatographic peak integration or the supply chain uses it for demand forecasting that affects product availability, yep, that is in scope. On the flip side, pure research, standard HR resume screening, and your conventional rule-based algorithms, those fall safely out of scope.
The really crucial concept bridging all of this together is intended use. Under Annex 22, this isn't just a casual, high-level description, it's literally the contractual heart of the system. It defines exactly what decisions the AI is allowed to make, and just as importantly, the boundaries where it must not operate. Vague scope statements here, they are a massive predictor of downstream governance issues and audit findings. If your intended use isn't crystal clear from day one, it becomes nearly impossible to establish validation metrics that'll actually hold up under inspection.
All right, let's jump into Section 4, Static, Dynamic, and Gen AI.
We've all heard those vendor pitches, right? Our dynamic AI learns and adapts like magic. Well, without a proper audit trail, that magic is an inspector's worst nightmare. Annex 22 heavily favors static AI for critical GMP processes. Static models are frozen after validation. They give reproducible outputs, and they are audit defensible across time. Dynamic AI, on the other hand, the stuff that learns continuously from operational data, is highly restricted. Because think about it, every operational batch could theoretically be processed by a slightly different model. If you truly need dynamic AI, Annex 22 imposes massive governance burdens, continuous statistical monitoring, and very explicit human oversight.
And then there's generative AI, your large language models. Annex 22 handles these with extreme caution. Why? Because their outputs are inherently variable, and frankly, they're prone to confabulation, or hallucinating facts. Because of this, generative AI absolutely cannot be trusted for critical decisions like batch release or specification setting. However, for non-critical, assistive tasks, like summarizing long documents or helping draft up an SOP, it's totally acceptable, provided the human oversight is rigid and the final decisions are always made by qualified personnel.
Section 5. Core structural elements.
So how do we actually build compliance? It comes down to these core structural pillars. First, risks management, which integrates directly with ICHQ9 to dictate your validation effort. Then data governance, meaning you're applying your standard Alcoa Plus principles to both your training and your test data. A massive point here is validation. You need strict isolation of your test data from your training data. Any data leakage there will completely invalidate your performance metrics. Rounding it out, we need explainability that's proportionate to the risk, human oversight with genuine override authority, and lifecycle management to continuously monitor for that dreaded model drift.
To see what happens when those pillars crumble, let's look at a real-world case study. A packaging line deployed a deep learning visual inspection system for their labels. Technically speaking, it was a massive success. But during an internal audit, they found incomplete documentation of training data lineage, 0 intended use boundary conditions, and absolutely no drift monitoring. They had to spend 3 full months remediating it before an external inspection. It just proves that even a technically perfect AI fails completely without strict Annex 22 documentation discipline.
And speaking of discipline, here's a fascinating look at human oversight in action. A multi-site QA team deployed a natural language processing AI to help triage deviations. Initially, the human reviewer would just look at the AI suggestion and hit approve, but audits showed that the reviewers were just blindly confirming the AI suggestions without truly verifying them. That's a super dangerous phenomenon known as automation bias. They actually had to completely redesign the workflow so humans classify independently first and only then get to see the AI suggestion. Perfunctory human review just gives false comfort, and it is a shockingly weak audit defense.
Finally, Section 6. The implementation roadmap.
Let's transition from the theory into actionable practice. Here are the 5 stages to get you started right now. Stage 1. Establish an AI governance framework right inside your existing quality system. Stage 2. Build an actual inventory of your AI with clear criticality classifications. Stage 3. Triage and address those highest risk validation gaps first. Stage 4. Develop cross-functional fluency between IT and QA. Honestly, silos between those two teams will create glaring inspection gaps. And Stage 5. Establish those lifecycle disciplines for long-term governance. The really great news here is that Annex 22 Mastery builds directly on your existing GMP maturity. You do not have to start from scratch. I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to take back to your IT, QA, and validation teams. Your new AI models might be absolutely state-of-the-art, but is your governance? Without a strict intended use, isolated test data, and continuous monitoring, what hidden drift is happening in your critical manufacturing processes right now? It is definitely time to rethink the operational readiness of your current systems. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.